Hitler and Mussolini's death. Earlier this year, it was confirmed that both Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini had perished, leading to the collapse of the Nazi Party and the beginning of the end of the Second Great War. Benito Mussolini, who was Prime Minister of Italy at the time, had tried to flee the conflict with his mistress to Spain on April 25th, but was later detained in Dongo, a small village in Lombardo, Italy, on the 7th. After spending their last night with the De Maria family, they were shot on the next morning in Giulino di Misagra, along with a party of other ministers and officials of the Italian Social Republic that had tagged along. A cross had been placed marking the spot he was shot, forever marking the minister's time and place of death. Now onto the news you've been waiting for, and the more mysterious of the two, Adolf Hitler's suicide? Hitler, seeing that the Nazi Party was in ruin and being overrun, had fled to his Führer bunker along with his wife of one day, Eva Braun. There, the two killed themselves via gunshot and cyanide, respectively. Their bodies were recovered and brought out of the bunker for inspection. Some accounts say Hitler killed himself via gunshot in the mouth, others say via cyanide like Eva. But after some inspection, it was confirmed he had committed suicide via gunshot to the right temple. The events preceding this event showed that suicide was their last-ditch effort of not sharing the same fate as Benito Mussolini, whom he had heard of his death the day prior. The Führer had left his bunker at around 2:30 and was proclaimed dead along with his short-lived love by his valet at around 15:30. Now, some words from Paula Hitler, the Führer's sister himself. We were unable to get Paula to come in for a live interview, but we were able to get some words from her to help give some insight to the tyrant Führer's past. So, Paula, what was Adolf like before he became the genocidal monster he was in World War II? Well, he seemed to despise our family, even before adopting his evil ways. Not too much of a surprise, seeing what Adolf turned into during the war, but how were relations between the two of you? He despised me and my sister, even calling us stupid geese on occasion. Absolutely brutal, even for the tyrant who killed millions to badmouth his own family. So, what were your opinions on Adolf's actions during and after the war? I knew he was rude and cold-hearted, but I never thought he would go so far as to start the Second Great War, and start the Holocaust. And I think it was quite a cowardly thing he did to evade capture, what with killing himself and all. So even Adolf's sister despises him. Makes sense, given the horrible things he's done. Any closing words, Paula? Overall, I'm surprised with Adolf's actions, but I'm not surprised that he didn't make it far in his attempt at world conquest. And although it pains me to say this about my own brother, I'm glad he's dead and rotting in hell.
2, 1.
As the war was coming to an end, the Nazis started evacuating people from their main concentration camp, Auschwitz, and moving them to other camps. At Auschwitz, only a few prisoners remained, too sick and neglected to move, and nearly no guards stayed. Fires started being set to documents and other important things so that our militaries and the Soviets could not get to them. The Soviets started closing in on the camp to liberate those who remained, and other nations started closing in on other camps to help people as well. The prisoners being liberated were very sick and needed a lot of medical attention when they got taken out of the camps. But luckily only 500 of the 450 died at Auschwitz, so 4,000 made it out alive. As the Soviets moved to liberate others, there were many doctors needed to keep the people healthy. The people who were healthy were being marched through camps and were also quite sick when they got to them. Okay, I'm starting.
Okay. On August 6th and 9th, America showed the world the first and second atomic bomb. This new class of weapons are unlike anything we have seen. These bombs were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The initial blast killed 50,000, and many others were injured from the blast or got sick from the radiation caused by the bomb. Both of these bombs had the power of 15,000 tons of TNT. These bombs had been developed for many years by a top-secret military research and development project codenamed the Manhattan Project. This group was directed by the brilliant scientist Robert Oppenheimer and was tasked with making a new class of weapons that could end the war. These scientists set up their research lab in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Here they went through many prototypes and ideas and eventually held their first test, codenamed Trinity, where they detonated the first ever nuclear bomb. Less than a month later, they had 2 bombs ready to drop on Japan, Little Boy and the Fat Man. Little Boy was a uranium bomb, and the Fat Man was a plutonium bomb. These bombs were dropped by the planes Enola Gay and Bhaskar. Although this was a massive success for the United States and the Allied powers, many scientists who created the bombs felt lots of regret and remorse, now realizing what they had brought into the world. After witnessing the test at Trinity, Robert Oppenheimer, the director of the project, said, "I have become death, the destroyer of worlds." He felt he had created a weapon that could destroy the world.
The Tuskegee Airmen were a group of African American fighters back in World War II, which was a huge milestone when it comes to racism because before this, black men were not allowed to do something this big. You earned the name as long as you were on the team, including mechanics, cooks, support, and anything to help the team. They were active between 1940 and 1948. Before the Tuskegee Airmen, there wasn't a black man who had piloted a plane, which made headlines everywhere when they started out with the Airmen in 1941. An African-American Tuskegee Airman flew a plane with the First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt on board and took her for a 30-minute flight. And after he successfully landed the plane, she said, "Well, you can fly all right." When they were first training in 1941, they thought that training black men with the white men might cause some racial differentials and friction, which surprisingly wasn't that true. In the 992 trained airmen, 355 were deployed overseas, 82 lost their lives, 68 people lost their lives in combat missions, 12 lost their lives in training in a non-combat area, and 32 were captured prisoners of war. There was 1,578 combat missions that were ran in the 8 years of the airmen. There was 178 bomber escort missions. They destroyed 112 enemy aircraft and also destroyed over 950 vehicles, which include cars, trucks, and cargo vehicles. And 40 boats and barges were destroyed.